Thank you for tuning in for Lively Productions. I'm Michael Lively. Special guest here, Chris Chelios, the head director of the Naperville Sabres Midget Program. Now, addressing the elephant in the room, Chel, the people that do not personally know you, they hear the name Chris Chelios. Your cousin, Chris Chelios, played in the National Hockey League. How often do you get mistaken as your cousin?
All the time, all the time. And it's quite funny because every time they look at me, they look at my ID, and they're like, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, man, I'm not the, I'm not the real Chris Chelios. But they always say, oh, that's cool and stuff. But it's yeah, it does raise a lot of eyebrows, and and of what my cousin has accomplished in his playing career. I'm very proud to be a Chelios, and I'm very proud of what he's accomplished. And growing up, he was one of my guys I looked up to, along with my father. And yeah, and he's still giving back to hockey nowadays, and working with the Chicago Blackhawks, doing stuff with the youth hockey and other things that he's involved with. But yeah, he's such a great individual, and he was so great for the game.
Now, you mentioned the youth hockey, and you looked up to your dad growing up. What personally got you involved? Obviously, the Chelios name is easily recognized in the game of hockey. What personally got you involved in playing the game?
Well, I think it was one day my dad just asked me, hey, you want to go watch the Badgers play? My cousin was playing one day, and I said, yeah, absolutely. I went to the game and kind of just watched it, and right away I fell in love with it. And my dad asked me, he goes, do you want to try this? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. And so I remember that I started Joliet with their developmental program there, and I remember before that, when I was getting equipment, we went to Tom's Sports Shop, Pro Shop in Downers Grove, and I remember my dad. It was between a Bauer and Langs, right? And I chose the Langs, and then they fitted me up with equipment, and he threw me on the ice, and I was like a deer in headlights. I was falling all over the place. I don't think I even had a jersey that time. I had to put this checkered coat on. It was just, I looked like an oddball out there. But the one thing is my dad said...
Some things never change, though, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remember my dad telling me, when I skated off the ice, and I don't know if I skated or crawled, but he said the smile on my face was priceless. He said you could tell at that point that I fell in love with that game. And so through both parents working full time, they were able to get me to the rink as much as possible, not only for lessons but public skate. I remember nighttime, Friday and Saturday nights at Inwood, they had this late night skating thing that with the disco ball, with 80s music and so on. So
putting your age out there now, Joe.
It does. It absolutely does. But it's crazy when I hear some of these 80s songs, it just brings me back to the memories of Inwood Ice Arena, the old barn with it was just made out of wood, and unfortunately it burnt down. But a lot of great memories there. But I just remember that, my dad just told me that I loved it. And I remember watching my cousin on on TV when I was playing for the U.S. Olympic team, and I just sat there and watched it and watched it and watched it. And my dad you could tell I had a huge interest in it.
Yeah. So clearly it worked out for you, too. After your youth hockey, you played in the USHL for Sioux City. And then you moved on to college hockey to play University of Wisconsin Superior in the NCAA D3 level. What led you to go there?
Well, that's another funny story. I think at that time, I think I was just a type of player that just wanted to play. I really wasn't concerned on where I was going to play. I just wanted to play hockey. Yeah. And I think when I think it was a time after USHL, there were some opportunities. There was some opportunities for me to go to some D1 schools. One opportunity that didn't work out, and then I had all these D3 schools after me. It was quite flattering, Stevens Point and River Falls and Plattsburgh and Superior, Wisconsin, especially. And I remember I was working full time at Domino's Pizza. I was a pizza delivery person.
Chel's Pizza.
Oh, absolutely.
Starts early.
That's how I bulked up. I'll tell you that. But I remember they were calling me every other day, and the one thing is there was a gentleman, an assistant coach there named Pat McPartland. He talked to me that night. I was getting off a shift. He talked to me. It was probably like 8 o'clock at night, and he asked me if I decided yet. I said, yeah, I'm so sorry. I haven't decided yet. And this was like toward the end of June.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, no problem. Chell, you have a good night. We'll talk. We'll talk next day or so. So then next morning, I had a knock on the door, and it was I opened the door, and there was Pat McPartlin. And I said, Coach, what are you doing here? You know, he was the assistant coach who's recruiting me. He goes, hey, I just forgot to tell you on the phone. I figured I'd come in person. And he says, this is the jersey we want you to wear as you see the number that you wanted.
Sold.
And I looked it up and said, you really drove 7, 8 hours to give me this jersey, to show me this jersey. And he said, yeah, absolutely. I think at that point I felt that I was sold on that point. I was flattered. I just couldn't believe a coach, assistant coach would do that. So I made the choice that day. Said, well, that night, and I called him. I said, I will go. I will be a Yellow Jacket. I would be honored to, you know.
So clearly it worked out for him driving all that way, and definitely worked out for you. Obviously, too, after you played there, you played a little professional hockey as well. You played in the CHL, the ECHL. And if most people don't know that about you, I learned a couple years ago as well, you went overseas to play in Germany. And how different was it moving to Europe to play professional hockey?
Yeah, it was really different. You know, at that point in my life, you know, when I played in the East Coast Hockey League, I think it was just different things I wanted to kind of search for. You know, I wanted first, you know, after I played college hockey, you know, I wasn't sure what my future was in hockey. I stayed back a year to finish my degree in student teaching. And when I made the Baton Rouge Kingfish in the East Coast, you know, after that, you know, it felt like it was something like in the bucket list, right? I did, and I always wanted to do Europe too, just for a year to see how it is. I love their how they play out there. You know, certain things, and I just want to try it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm still young, and so I went to Germany and played there. It was different style, different pace, but I really liked it. People were really nice there. They're very welcoming. If you don't produce, they won't be as welcoming. But I had a great experience there. It was great people, you know, and you know, I believe it made me a better hockey player. Just kind of see a different element of the game.
Did the North American style, the European style, fit your game better?
North American, absolutely. There's really not a lot of finesse in my game, but that's the thing. That's how I am where I am is because my work ethic. You know, like I always tell the kids, right? When you're playing against a team, you can't ever control how skilled a team is, but you can always compare a team how hard you work, and you can always outwork a team. You know, you can't always outskill a team, but you can outwork a team. But that's the one thing that my father instilled in me was a great work ethic. And that's what I did. Every time I stepped on the ice, it was always a competition for me. It was always the little battles I wanted to win, and I just wanted to be better, you know. And I kind of felt at that point, when I got older, I kind of figured if I made myself better and I competed hard, I'd make my teammates better. And I had some really great coaches on the way, you know, coaches like Mr. Faulkner, Bill Martin, you know, Rick Rooney, who was a huge part of where I am today. He's currently coaching at Bennett. And then, you know, we had David Laura in the USHL, and then also, you know, other coaches at UW Superior that helped me out, from Stauber to Coach Nelson. There's so many things. There's so many people that were influential in my development, and I just kept working for them. I just worked hard. At the end of the day, the one thing that was in the back of my mind was working hard for my father, because he provided us with so many things. You know, when he was working, you know, 60 hours, where he's 70 something right now, he's still working, you know 40 to 60 hours. But you know, he's a great man, and so is my mother. You know, they both sacrificed a lot for me. So the one thing is that was my motivation to make them proud and to work hard. You know.
Let's say we play a little game here now, Chell. Maximum of 8 pucks. See how many shots it takes to get in all 4 corners. I'll let you go first. Show us how it's done. All right, so now moving on to your coaching days when finally hang up the skates. What led you into a career in coaching hockey?
Um, I think growing up, I was doing a lot of hockey camps. I remember back in the day, my cousin had a camp with Jeremy Roenick,
Hmm.
Chili's and JR charity hockey
Yeah.
camps, and out of Bridgeview and Southwest Ice Arena. And I started instructing there. And I remember my cousin Steve was running the show, and I met a lot of great people, a lot of great players on the way, especially Ty Domi and Probert, uh, and but Claude Lemieux and Brian Noonan was there. And like I said, there was a lot of great players that I got to know there, and it was so inspirational. And I when I was coaching, helping my cousin instruct the kids, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I looked forward to going to the rink and hanging out and so on. But it was really cool.
So now you see, obviously, every coach has their own coaching philosophy. What's your current coaching philosophy, and how has it changed over the years?
You know what? I don't think my philosophy has changed at all. The only thing I really expect from kids is just to work, work, work. If you work hard, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, right? And that's all I expect the kids to do, and that's all I ask them. Just give me 100%. Those days where you don't have it, you got to find a way to get it, right? Kids are going to do mistakes. It's part of the game, right? And if kids fear making mistakes, if they fear it, they're not going to become better hockey players. They're not going to develop the creativity part of the game. So I'm never going to get on a kid for doing a mistake, but I will hold a kid accountable on having a really good work ethic. And when I teach them that, like I said before, it's all about life lessons.
Mhm.
If I can get them to work hard in hockey and see the value of working hard, and I hope everything else they do from schools to a job, to relationships, you got to put everything into it, right? So I've always kept with that philosophy.
As you mentioned, like, the stuff you learn in hockey obviously develops more in life too, later in life and current in life as well. But now your life is a little different now than when you started your coaching career. You have two kids, Bray and Zach, with Kate and the third one on the way, expecting. Congratulations,
Thank
by the
you.
way, on that.
Appreciate it.
But now, how has this changed or adapted to your coaching style of having a family now in your coaching life than when you started without a family and without kids, start per se?
Wow. Yeah, my life has totally changed. Well, now, I sit there and laugh. When I got done playing hockey and what happened, and like I said, right place, right time.
Mhm.
I was actually teaching a hockey camp out at All Seasons Ice Rink, and my current boss, Steve Morrissey, approached me about possibly being employed at All Season Ice Rink, and in the first 3 days I kind of told him no because I wanted to go back and play hockey. At that time I was playing for the Shreveport Mudbugs in the CHL, and I just didn't realize what was in front of me. And I remember like I asked Steve and Donna, who were both still there, and asked them if I could have 2 weeks to think about it, and they did, and went home and talked to my dad, and I remember the conversations, and I at one point in my life, I was at 29, I felt like, hey, what better to uh, what better to play hockey is to coach hockey, uh, and to do something I love,
Mhm.
right? Because many people out there don't work when they work, they don't love it, right? And I love it, and
Yeah.
I felt that was a great time to shift gears and possibly a new chapter of my life. And so I called Mr. Morrissey and I let him know that I take the job, and been there, wow, almost 18 years. So but every day I go to the rink loving what I
Mhm.
do. But what has changed me, because back then I didn't have kids,
Yeah.
and what changed me is I kind of felt the way I was in the beginning as a coach. I kind of felt maybe I wasn't in tune in what kids really thought. I cared for them. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. And I think when you have your own kids, you kind of look at them like you don't want anything to happen to them, or you don't want any disappointments,
Mhm.
or And I think having kids, it has softened me. you know,
I have heard that from a couple players you have coached before.
I kind of feel not only with the kids, I've just adapted to how players are now, right? And you can't go in there and rule with an iron fist anymore, like the old school ways, right?
Yeah.
But
As much as you want to.
as much, yeah, exactly. But you just hold kids more accountable, and like I said, I feel with my kids, they have softened me up, and but I love it. I love being a father. Another new chapter of my life that I look forward to. They both love to play hockey, and something that I let them choose. And whenever they ask me to jump on the ice, I do my best to get them on the ice. But it's up to them if they want to play this great game. If they want to play baseball, football, you want to go into computer science, whatever's going to make them happy. But at the same time, like I said, it's a great game and teaches great life lessons. But yeah, I have softened up. I'm a softie now.
So now you coach obviously your coaching career and your resume speaks for itself, but you coached Naperville high schools and stuff. You coach Robert Morris women's hockey team, University of Wisconsin, Superior women's as well. Now you're with the midget program for the Naperville Sabres. Of all the places you've coached, what's your favorite and why?
Wow.
Without having any bias to Naperville Sabres because you're there now.
Yeah. I just think they brought something different to the table. Robert Morris, coaching hockey there. You're coaching females, so you have to coach in a different way. Yeah. And in coaching females hockey, there's no checking or anything, so it's a pure element of the game, right? It's you're doing stuff. You're doing stuff on the ice to. Skill-wise, right? You're still having a great work ethic, but it's a pure game of hockey. I was coaching mites where that was at great level. Like awesome. Just making sure the game's fun for the kids. University of Wisconsin Superior. That was a year I took a year off of hockey just to get my studies done, and I enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun for me. I think the different types levels I coached has made me a better all-around coach. It wasn't just coaching midgets; it's coaching females and collegiate and mites, and what I do at All Seasons Ice Rink with the developmental program. And at that level, it's just it's awesome coaching those guys, because at the end of the day, it's how much they're going to enjoy the game, right? If a kid's out there and they're not enjoying it, they're not going to stick with it. So us as instructors, we just got to make sure it's fun for the kids. And I know everyone says, "Hey, you make sure, it's fun," but it's true. Yeah. If it's not fun, what are you doing? Why are you playing the game? It's got to be fun for the kids.
Same for jobs, same for sport, anything you do. Why are you doing
everything in life, right? And that's why. So it's hard to say what is my most favorite level to coach, because they all bring something different to the table. So I love coaching all of them. Now with the Sabre Midget program, it's a whole different beast, and you're dealing with like I say, you're dealing with a lot of elements. But I love coaching those kids. I do. It's awesome.
So now moving to a new generation of athletes that you see, the new generation of kids coming up now with the whole video games and the culture everyone is now. What do you think is the biggest challenge in coaching new sports?
I think there's a lot of distractions in the kids' life now. Being a kid is harder. They face a lot of things at school, trying to fit in. You got the thing that's always been there, bullying, that I really frown upon. It's tough to be a kid, but also they do have a lot of distractions. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like, I just think the athletes now, with those distractions, aren't as focused as the ones back in the day. And I'm not saying all athletes are like that, but a lot more athletes. So I kind of feel that, back then it wasn't as structured as it was now. I remember, when I also played baseball, I remember going outside and organizing baseball games.
Right in the backyard.
We lived in the cul-de-sac in Bolingbrook, and just got the whole neighborhood, and we played, right? We played hockey in my driveway. We did this and that. It was nothing that was it wasn't organized. It was something we just wanted to do.
You're
Right?
giving everyone nostalgia right now back home.
What's that?
You're giving everyone nostalgia back home right now.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I just think at the end of the day, like I think everything's so structured. You have to be here, be there, and I think a lot of kids lose out on the social aspect of things. You know, you got to be here, 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 here. You know, I remember my dad telling me at one point, I always wanted to play hockey, and if it wasn't on the ice, it was in the driveway, or I was shooting pucks all the time, and I did it on my own. And I think nowadays a lot of kids just don't do it on their own. Like I said, yeah, you're right. The iPad, video games, this and that does take a lot. You got kids inside playing video games while it's a beautiful day like this.
Yeah.
I just think, and don't get me wrong, right? There's a lot of doors open, to learn that type of society, I should say. You know what I mean? Like gaming and esports and all that stuff. And it's great.
Taken off. Yeah.
It has taken off, and it gives all the kids an opportunity to do something, right? Because you know what? At the end of the day, right? Sports aren't for everybody, but what does sports do for kids, right? Yeah, right away gets you involved with the social aspect of things. Yeah. Helps you balance your schedule, right? Like, hey, I know I got to study, and I know I got baseball or hockey and this and that, and I got to balance that out, and and I also want to hang out with my friends and stuff like that. So it helps you with a lot of life lessons, But I'll tell you, like nowadays, kids are faced with so many different things, and you see a lot of kids, their heads in the phones now, like they're walking around like this and not aware of your surroundings, But I think the biggest challenge is just like to motivate the kids, make them believe in the team concept. You know what I mean? I always say what you put into is what you get out. If the kids aren't giving me 100%, how am I supposed to get 100% out of them, right? And make them grow as a hockey player and develop their skill sets and help them accomplish their goals and dreams. I know as a coach, and I ask my players, I'm 100% fully invested in these kids. Because at the end of the day, if I give anything less, I'm failing the kids. And that's who I am. So every time I'm making practice plans or when I talk, like when I do things for games and preparing these kids for battle, and it's nonstop, and it does take away from my family life. But what I do tell you is I do consider each and every kid I coach my family, and when I see them achieve and go on to juniors and college and see them achieve their goals and dreams, right? It makes me feel like their parent, It just, and that's what drives me to become a better coach. And I'm always learning too. I don't know everything, and I learn from some of the best, the best out there, from, things I see online or things I read, and this. I just keep trying to educate myself like a doctor, right? With doctors, it's new technology every day, new medicine, new this and that. And if they didn't keep up with it, with the trends, like how we would cure certain things, I kind of feel like if I don't educate myself and make myself a better coach, game in, game out, practice in, practice out, I'm failing the kids. So like my motivation is to not fail the kids. I just that's parents have trusted me and that I have their kids for 8 months, and I feel that I owe it my 100% effort to help them develop, and as I say, it just brings great joy. I just love what I do every day. I love going to the rink. I love seeing everybody, I just see a positive spin on everything.
Now you obviously have a great playing resume, a great coaching resume is ready. What's your next big goal now? You're trying to educate yourself, be even better every day. What's your next big goal in the game of hockey?
My next big goal is just be a better coach. Like I'm happy where I'm at, right? It's at the tier 2 level, and the thing is like if I can move a kid out to AAA, if I can move a kid out to juniors or to college, I'm cool with it, right? Yeah. I don't need a coach anywhere else. Saber's been really great to me, and I've met a lot of great people, a lot of great coaches, coaches like at the Falcons, Bobby Heelan. I've learned a lot from him. Guys around the area, like so many coaches, Mike Breslin with the Cyclones, so many great coaches where I pick up on a lot of things that they do. They make me work on the bench, I'll tell you that. Especially when they change things around.
Sometimes a little too
games.
hard.
A little bit too hard. But the thing is, I think when you look at great coaches like those guys, and there's a lot of great coaches out there, not only those two, but you just you see something sometimes, what they do at practice or what they do in games. I'm like, man, this could really work for my team. So I always say you can always learn from other coaches. I think at the end of the day, too, when coaches feel like they know it all, I think it's time for them to quit, because the thing is like you don't know it all. And like how the game has evolved, it has evolved greatly, and I've adapted to how it's evolved, and how these kids are too. Can't treat kids like you did in the old days, right? Now it's some kids might have certain problems that will affect their gameplay. Yeah. Sometimes they have things that happen in their household that will affect their gameplay and how they practice. So you got to be open-minded and your ears open to listen to these kids and because sometimes, and people look at me like when I say this, like, hockey's not everything in life.
Yeah.
But what hockey does, it does make you who you are and teach you a lot of life lessons. And that's why I'm very grateful to coach this great game and to be associated with so many great coaches. Like I said, my coaching staff, I enjoy hanging with them, coaching with them, and they've taught me a lot of things also. And I think the one thing that my program at the Sabres, the midget program, it's not only just my program. With me and the me with the coaches, it's our program. Yeah. There's no head coaches in this. It's all co-head coaches, because everyone in this midget program is invested in the kids, and that's why you'll see of how well we've done over the years, and how these kids come back from college and they come visit at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, and they stop by your office. It's like, man, of all the places where they're gonna be, they stop at the office.
For 2 weeks you're home.
Yeah, they stop by and they tell me stories, and like I said, sometimes they tell me too much, but it's so cool, it's so gratifying. It's just a feeling that I can't explain. Words can't explain. But like I said, I've been very blessed and who my coaching staff is. Very blessed on the program I coach at, and very blessed on the players I've coached. So at the end of the day, very lucky. To be where I am today.
You definitely tell your love of the game, your love for coaching, your love for the kids you have too. I want to end on this one, as all the young coaches out there listening to this, or future coaches that want to get into the coaching industry. What's the one piece of advice? I mean, you touched on it a little bit and stuff, to educate yourself, to motivate each player. But what's the one piece of advice you had to tell these young coaches when they're starting the coaching industry, of what you want to tell them?
Just be fully invested be fully invested in the kids you coach. That's the thing. That's it. If your mindset is to make these kids better hockey players, and not about winning, you'll be successful. And that's why I've always kind of taught myself. At the end of the day, it's not about wins and losses. It's about what you're going to do for the kids. And I feel like if I develop the kids, make them better hockey players, then they're going to take care of themselves. Yep. So I think with these young coaches, you just give them your time. Give them have your patience. You know what I mean? Talk to the kids. You know what I mean? Not every kid is prone to be yelled at, right? There's kids out there that will shut down. So you have to learn how to communicate with kids in a different way. Every kid is different. So as long as you show them the love of the game and you show that you care, you're going to be in this sport for a long time.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Chel, I appreciate you sitting down with me and talking about this. Best of luck to you and the Sabres this year.
Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
That's all for Live Productions.